I've marked all 4 of my legs, and I am ready to start chopping the mortise. So I already started once over here, and I have to say this is going to be a challenging one because there was a knot right here, and then there was a knot on the inside which is coming out on this side. So the knot is so hard it pushes the chisel away from it, and it's very hard to keep the chisel toward you. This is 3.5 inch. This is 3.5 inches long, so this should be still within the realms of chopping your own mortise with a chisel. At some point, you want to, when it's a deeper, longer mortise, you want to graduate to a mortise chisel, which is fatter. It doesn't have the thin edges like this does, and then at some point you probably have to kind of bore through it with holes. But this is just a 1/2 inch mortise. The resistance is not too much from the wood because it's a small mortise. So I'm going to start chopping. If you want to learn how to chop a mortise, this is probably not the best video for you. I'm just going to show you how I do it. But if you really want to learn a lot, go over here to a video by Paul Sellers. I will link to that, and that is the definitive way of chopping a mortise. It's not the only way out there, but that way surely works. It works with the chisels you have. You don't have to go out and buy special chisels, special tools, any of that. You can just work with what you have, and it's a fantastic way to start. So go check that out. But here's how I do it. So the hardest part as a beginner is to align the chisel to between the mortise boundaries, the walls. That just takes a while to learn. Now I chopped away from it. I'm going to come back closer to my boundaries. I'm going to move this way in. Some people start from the middle and work their way both sides. I'm just going to start from one end and go all the way to the other, and I'm going to have the bevel in the direction that I'm moving. Chop and lever. If you see there's a big old knot over here, I have to be creative about that. Let's not worry about what problems I don't have right now. Right now I just have to chop the mortise. So with every chop I go a little deeper. And when you hear the dead sound, I'll hear you. So listen to the sound here. Okay, watch it. It's a different sound, and now the sound is going to change. That means it's not going to go any further in. Twisting the chisel is just going to make it worse. You could even break your chisel depending on the wood. So no point hammering your arms off. That is the wood telling you that there's nowhere to go. Stop hammering. Just using the hard face of the mallet just to kind of plow through this piece. I'll use the soft face for assembly. So I'm trying very hard to keep the chisel. My chisel has the handle has a slight flat face to it, so I'm trying very hard to keep that flat and not letting the chisel twist like this. That is the challenging part, to not let your chisel twist. Paul Sellers says, control your own tools, don't let the tools control you, and that is is a really good lesson to learn. It's really good practice to follow. It's a poor quality wood too. It's just crumbling under the chisel. But this is what I have to work with. So I'm not even halfway through. I'm about halfway through into the mortise hole. I've gone in this deep, and if you see here, I'm about over a third of the way inside. Right? That's pretty cool. I'm going to go over halfway through this side, and then I'm going to come back from the other side and meet in the middle. And hopefully they'll meet in the same line. See my chisel twisted inside. The edges of the corners of the chisel is what is defining the wall of the mortise, and the wall of the mortise has to be perpendicular to the outside wall, which will make the whole thing square, the whole assembly square. So having the chisel not twist and having the chisel go down straight is valuable to have a good fit. Gotta be careful here. I'm bumping up against that knot. The knot wants to twist. And I don't want it to twist. Who will win? I can see the knot is actually going this way in, so this was probably a branch that came out kind of where my chisel's pointing this way. There's a branch that came out like this. I can see where the knot is going. It's kind of neat to see that inside part of the tree and how the tree grew. If you notice, I'm chiseling over the area that is just over the sawhorses here, so I'm transferring all that weight straight down, all that opposing forces, Newton's law. Sides of the knot are chipping off. And what that is going to do is show up as show up as a gap on my final assembly. I don't know of any good way to avoid that at this point. I might try sawing this side a little bit. Just so it doesn't chip out. My saw here, this is a dovetail saw that I bought, but the front of it has some teeth so it can start these stopped mortises. It's getting there. Normally I wouldn't saw inside the walls of the mortise, but this is, I just don't want the knot to chip out on the inside corners of the mortise and show up as a gap. You see this? What I did here is this bit of a line right here. I just kind of sawed along the edge of the mortise. That's just because of that knot. I think it's working. Don't make the wood do something it doesn't want to do. The answer is not always a bigger hammer, which is an attitude in the woodworking circles a lot. Just use a bigger hammer. It's not always the right answer. There, that should be close. I'm going to use a thinner 1/4-inch chisel as a drill here and just kind of break the fibers. They're all separated from the walls of the mortise, but they're still sticking around. Why wouldn't I use my 1/2-inch chisel, the one I was chopping with? Because it might ream the walls of the mortise and expand them, and the walls have to be the exact width of this chisel. Because if I stick the chisel in here without it making any contact with anything, it needs to stay vertical. This is not touching the bottom, this is just held up by the walls, and that is the kind of fit I'm looking for. So just kind of cleaned up a little bit. I'm going to come back on this side. I'm going to move this way now because I need to get this face a little lower. That's better. Can you see how deep I went here? This is fairly good. I think I did a better job, and the thing to notice also is that these edges of the mortise, the corners are pretty crisp. I think I've messed up this corner a little bit here, but not so much. Come back from the other side. I'm I'm going to do the same way that I did the first time. Okay, I don't know if you can see this, but I am through to the other side a little bit to go. Okay, the mortise is done, and the inside's still a little chewed up. I need to clean that up just a little bit, and that's from the twist of the chisel was making the insides twist and kind of change the shape of the inside a little bit. So I need to clean that up just a little bit, not too much, because the inside still has to have the right size to take the tenon. So I'm just going to make sure the walls are level, that's all. Not going to try to make the mortise any bigger. So that was 2 mortises done, 6 more to go. I have my work cut out for me. Next up is going to be chopping the haunches, and hopefully I'll do it next week. So subscribe to my channel so you don't miss that video. New videos on building the bench are going to be out on Mondays, so you can check out the series over here. On Thursdays I post shorter woodworking topic related videos. My chisels are getting pretty dull from all this mortise chopping, so I'll probably do a sharpening video. I hope you have a lovely week, and I will see you in the next video.